Welcome to step 9. It's time to kill bacteria, viruses, and parasites. We all have hidden bugs inside of us, but recent studies suggest that more than one of these hidden bugs could be the driving cause of chronic disease in your body right now. So what do I mean by hidden bugs? All of us contain different types of hidden bugs. We all contain bacteria and viruses and fungus and parasites. We all have all of these things floating around in our tissues, in our glands right now. They've been building over the years, but no one has really been able to say, oh, how are we going to get rid of these problems until now? We have all been accumulating all of these different bacteria and viruses and fungus and parasites over our entire lifetime. And so you can think of these hidden bugs as a kind of soup. We all have all of these things floating around in our body, but up until now, nobody has had a really easy, effective way to start to decrease the amount of soup that we have in our body. The more soup that you have in your body right now, the more likely you are to have severe symptoms and severe problems from any chronic disease that you currently have. Because multiple infections at the same time have been shown to increase disease severity. And as we have built up this soup over our lifetime, we also understand that as we continue to feel a little bit worse and a little bit worse, but we've gone and had testing done and we've looked at different things and nothing has shown up in the regular kinds of blood work and testing that they have done, we now realize that this soup is hidden from all of these different tests. And the studies that we're talking about have not only suggested the role of a broader spectrum approach to taking care of these problems, but it also highlights the limitation of doing specific testing to see which kinds of bugs that are actually causing the problem. So the hidden bug soup has flown under the radar for an extremely long time, and so now it is time to show light onto this problem. And then there is a specific, easy, effective way to start draining the bug soup out of your body. What do I mean when I say a hidden bug? The current definition of a hidden bug is any disease-causing microorganism employing different strategies to persist in the body by hiding from, evading, misdirecting, or even suppressing your immune responses. And when they do this, it leads to a chronic disease or a lack of well-being. This definition has been described by one of my mentors, Professor Carrie Bone, who is one of the preeminent herbalists in the world. His clinic in Australia has been on the leading edge of working on and treating these hidden bugs using specific herbal therapy that we'll describe further as we go through step 9. Hidden bugs have been linked to chronic disease over the last 5 to 10 years in the research. This includes all the autoimmune diseases, cancer, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia syndrome, chronic Lyme, and a disease called sarcoidosis. These hidden bugs are linked to chronic disease because there is a negative consequence because these hidden bugs are camouflaged from the immune system. Another way to think about that is called molecular mimicry. And what that means is your immune system is going around and looking for all of these different problems that are going on within your body, but these hidden bugs have been able to camouflage themselves from your immune system and stay within your body and not be attacked by your immune response. This has led to an increase in chronic inflammation, chronic disease, increase in the toxin load that you have, and this all just fuels the fire for all of these chronic diseases to continue. All of these bugs are hiding, and they have made it so that the immune system can't find it. And then it creates more secreted toxins, it creates more microbial waste products, it actually causes host cell death. In other words, your cells start to die for no good reason. And this sends out what is called danger signals from those dying cells throughout your body, and that also increases the chronic inflammation. And all three of these things, the secreted toxins, the waste products, and the cells dying, increase the chronic inflammation and leads to more chronic disease. Why is addressing hidden bugs so important right now? Because without a properly functioning immune system, chronic disease will remain an issue for the rest of your life. And what has happened is your immune system can't find and identify and kill those hidden bugs without some specific help. So that is what step 9 is all about, is ramping up your immune response so that it can find, identify, and then kill many of these hidden bugs and decrease the hidden bug soup you currently have in your body. Many different chronic diseases have now been suggested to come from an infectious or hidden bug origin. The first one is called Toxoplasma gondii, and this is a fungal infection that has been linked to many different types of mental illness. The second is H. pylori, and H. pylori should be found in your stomach, but when it gets out of balance, it causes a bacterial infection and stomach ulcers. The third type of hidden bug is Proteus. And Proteus is very common in different types of bacterial infections that is found throughout the body. The next type of hidden bug that is very common to cause chronic disease is EBV, or Epstein-Barr virus. This is also a leading cause of viral infections and can lead to many chronic inflammatory issues down the road. The next fungal infection is a Mycobacterium avum, paratuberculosis, or an easy way to say it is a MAP or MAP. And this is a very common fungal infection that causes a chronic immune response, allergies, asthma, a lot of different chronic things that nobody is able to get rid of because they are not getting rid of the MAP fungus in the first place. And then the final chronic disease that has been linked to a hidden bug is Lyme's disease. And Lyme's disease is a parasitic infection that has been running rampant throughout the last 20 years, but is now being looked at as one of the main driving causes of many other different chronic disease processes that nobody else has been able to treat effectively until now. Unless we address the underlying causes of your chronic disease issues right now, they will continually come back. And that is why it is so important to address hidden bugs right now. Because no one else has ever told you about this foundational reason why you still don't feel good. How much time, money, and energy have you already spent on these problems with no real good resolution? And how has all that worked for you? If you're like most people, you have spent all this money and spent all this time and all the energy that you really don't have right now trying to take care of these problems, and nobody has gotten to the root cause of the problem because nobody was talking to you about hidden bugs and how you have this soup of all of these bugs that have been in your body for years and years that nobody is addressing. So we are going to provide you with a completely different way of looking at these things, like we have done already, and we will use this program for 3 months and then reevaluate to see how much better you are doing at getting rid of some of these hidden bugs that are inside of your body. You might be wondering how these hidden bugs hide from your immune response. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes describing how each type of bug has strategies that then evade the immune system so that it can't be killed. But then, by knowing how they use those strategies to stay away from the immune response, then we can mount our own attack against these hidden bugs to decrease the hidden bug soup and decrease the amount of chronic disease and inflammation that you have in your body. First, let's look at the viral strategies that they use to stay inside of you and not be killed. Viruses use what's called immune evasion. And this critical strategy is what they use and has evolved to ensure their survival over the last multiple centuries. An example of immune evasion occurs in the herpes family of viruses. The herpes family reduces the immune system stimulating molecules on the surface of the cell so that it can't be detected. In other words, when a virus comes in and it infects a cell, especially a herpes virus, it decreases the amount of receptors on the surface of the cell that the immune system can use to come in and kill that cell. So that allows then that virus to continue to reproduce inside that cell without the immune system knowing that it's there. A second type of immune evasion is seen in the Epstein-Barr virus, because what the Epstein-Barr virus does is it appears to be able to selectively silence regions of its genes to keep the immune system from detecting that it is there. So over the centuries, this virus has now been able to selectively turn off part of its genetic code that is necessary for the immune system to say, oh, here is a virus that I need to kill. So is it any wonder that all of these chronic low-grade viral problems continually plague you and your family with no help? The good news is that there is ways using different herbs to stimulate the immune response to the point where it can override immune evasion and allow you to start to decrease the amount of viruses from the herpes family and decrease the amount of Epstein-Barr virus that you currently have in your body. Parasites use very similar tactics and strategies to stay inside of you and not be killed. The best example is hookworms. Hookworms can systematically suppress your immune response, and they do this via molecules that assist the parasite in the stealthy evasion of the host immune response. In other words, there is another case of immune evasion that goes on, very similar to how the viruses do it. They secrete factors that promote the development of regulatory T cells, which are a type of white blood cells, that inhibit the inflammatory response. So when you decrease the amount of inflammation around a hookworm, your immune system says, oh, there's nothing going on here. There's nothing wrong. And so if you decrease the amount of these regulatory T cells, then you don't have as much inflammation, and your immune system doesn't even know that you are infected with the hookworm. So this is how one parasite stays inside your body. There again, the good news is that if we ramp up your immune system and give you the specific herbs necessary for your immune system to recognize these parasites, you can get rid of them. Fungus also has a strategy to stay inside of you and not be killed. The mycoplasms, which are a fungus, is the smallest and have the smallest genomes of any free living organism. And what that means is because they are so small and because they have so few genes, it becomes difficult for your immune system to locate these funguses and then take them out. A second strategy fungus use is they don't have a cell wall, but they are much more evolved than even bacteria. But because they don't have a cell wall, there again, the immune system has a hard time detecting that a fungus is there and therefore has a hard time killing it. There is a growing awareness that these specific types of hidden bugs, the fungus, are more widespread and in more biological niches than first thought a long time ago. And the Mycoplasma pneumoniae is the most common pathogenic mycoplasm that infects humans. And this causes most pneumonias. So the majority of pneumonias are being caused by a fungus, and these fungus, because they lack the cell wall and they have so few genes, your immune system has an extremely hard time getting rid of this fungus. And so this leads to a lot of chronic disease, chronic inflammation, and makes you feel like terrible. The strategy that the bacteria use to stay inside of you and not be killed is also a type of immune evasion. A great example of that is Bartonella. And Bartonella is a gram-negative bacteria that is slow growing and grows inside your cells. And so because it grows inside your cells, then your immune system has a really hard time figuring out that the Bartonella is in the cell. And so the immune system does not have the ability to identify it and kill it. Because Bartonella has been able to evade the immune system of our body for so long, it has now been linked with a constantly increasing number of human diseases. So this Bartonella infection is a secondary infection to many different kinds of chronic disease processes. Bartonella is transmitted by fleas and ticks and lice. And these Bartonella infections are often characterized by causing problems with the energy production. And also it decreases the amount of iron and oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. So what happens is in a Bartonella infection, you have less energy, you don't feel well, it's a chronic low grade type of energy issue that you just don't know that it's coming from an actual bacterial infection. And up until recently, nobody was looking at a Bartonella infection as causing these problems. But as you continue to become worse and worse and more cells get infected, the problem gets worse. And so then people start to look at things differently. Bacteria over the centuries have been able to learn and change with their environment, which has increased their ability to evade the immune system. Bacteria can produce a new generation every 20 minutes on average. Bacteria can also share information between one species and another. Bacteria can also share resistance information from antibiotics and from the immune system from one species to another. Bacteria can also alter their ability to let antibiotics inside the cell to kill some of these stealth pathogens and some of these hidden bugs. And finally, bacteria can alter its internal structures so the antibiotics can't kill it. Is it any wonder that we're coming up with more and more antibiotic resistant bacteria then? We have to change the way that we're working with these bacteria so that they don't become even worse superbugs. And the way to do that is to understand how these bacteria evade the immune system in the first place, and then create strategies that are using natural products that can be altered and pulsed in and pulsed out so that then the bacteria don't become accustomed to them. And as we've already discussed, we all have multiple hidden bugs in us right now, but some hidden bugs cause much more trouble than others. Some studies have shown that more than one hidden bug might be the driving factor for your chronic disease at any one time. For example, a boy that had a brain disease and had an autoimmune problem had antibodies from the Mycoplasma pneumoniae, the fungus that we were talking about, and from a human herpes virus number 7 in his cerebral spinal fluid, or the fluid that surrounds his brain and spinal cord. So this poor boy was not only dealing with a fungus, but he was also dealing with a virus at the exact same time. And this suggests a role of a broad spectrum approach that is aimed across all different types of pathogens, including viruses. Because if you can treat both the virus and the fungus and the parasite and the bacteria all at the same time using just one type of approach, then it will allow you to help these people and help you much better, much faster, and start to drain a lot of that hidden bug soup away quickly. This poor boy's case also highlights the limitations of looking for a specific pathogen or a specific virus or a specific bacteria or a specific fungus. Because what has been found is we all have some of all of these things in our body at all time. So doesn't it make more sense to just treat the entire immune system and ramp up the immune system to the point where it can take care of all of these different things, no matter what kind of levels we have in our body right now of all of these different problems? This is the approach that we are taking, and we've had great success with it. So here is an example of what has happened over the last 10 years and why we're behind the 8 ball when it comes down to being able to get rid of a lot of this hidden bug soup. The bad news is you have chronic Lyme's disease. The good news is we don't think it exists, so you'll be fine. This is the prevalent understanding within the normal medical model of Lyme's disease and a lot of these chronic low-grade infections. It is our time to understand and fix this problem by looking at a whole different strategy to ramp up your immune response and be able to kill and decrease the amount of soup that you currently have in your body. Let's specifically look at Lyme's disease for a minute because it is such a huge problem that so many people are dealing with. Lyme's disease is caused by a spirochete, which is a bacteria called Borrelia, and it has become a major worldwide epidemic. Recent studies show that more than 300,000 people are diagnosed with Lyme disease each year in the USA. Up to 2/3 of the infected people will fail the conventional 30-year-old antibiotic approach to treating this problem. And animal and human evidence even suggests that there can be a sexual transmission of the Lyme spirochete or bacteria from person to person. So when we're looking at treating somebody with Lyme disease, we are looking at it from a totally different point of view and looking at the 2/3 of the people that the conventional antibiotic approach just does not work for. So now that you understand that you have this hidden bug soup in you, and all of us do, and it's causing all of these chronic inflammatory problems, causing chronic infections, causing you not to feel well. So how do you kill all of these hidden bugs? The first herb that we will use to increase your immune response is echinacea. And this herb has been used for thousands of years to stimulate the immune response. The second herb is myrrh. And myrrh has been used since before the time of Jesus to treat infections. The third herb is called artemisia. It's a Chinese herb that has been used since 168 BC to treat fevers and infections. The next herb is St. John's wort, and it has been used for centuries to treat viral infections, especially viruses that have an envelope around them so that it's hard to kill. The next herb is thuja, and it has been used for centuries topically and internally to get rid of warts, which of course are caused by a virus. The next essential oil that we use is called oregano oil, and it has been used for centuries to treat yeast and fungal infections. The next herb is called golden seal, and golden seal contains something called berberine. And berberine has been used for centuries to kill bacteria without being absorbed into the gut lining. And this is important because then that golden seal will stay inside the gut and not get into the tissues, and it stays there and kills more bacteria. And then finally, one of the other herbs that we use is philodendron, which is another Chinese herb, and that also contains berberine, and that helps to kill bacteria, fungus, and parasites. You might be wondering why drugs can't do what these herbs can do. The reasons are multiple. The first reason is that drugs only have one effect on any hidden bug at one time. Herbs, on the other hand, have multiple effects on hidden bugs at the same time. Herbs can be pulsed on and off and still have a therapeutic effect, whereas drugs have to be built up in the system, and by the time the drugs are strong enough to work, the hidden bugs are now using immune evasion and have morphed to start to hide again. You can switch herbs every few days to keep the hidden bugs from evading the immune response and morphing and hiding again, where you can't do that with drugs. And the only side effect of the herbs occurring is that the hidden bugs die off and can cause an allergic effect. But there are no other side effects of using herbs as opposed to using drugs. So what do you really need to know about step 9? In step 9, we all learned about hidden bugs that are living inside of us that are leading to an increase in the risk of you getting a chronic disease. And we all have hidden bug soup inside of us that contains different types of viruses, parasites, bacteria, and fungus that has been building up inside of you for many years and you just didn't even know it. And it's only been in the last few years that there has been an effective way to drain the hidden bug soup out of your body. And in step 9, we are designing it to help you drain yourself of this hidden bug soup that is causing you to feel poorly. Because no one deserves to feel bad. And in step 9, we just answered some of the questions that you might be having about your health for many years.